Our next issue for The Line takes us north. The Rio Grande Sun, a news source serving the Espanola Valley in northern New Mexico, is known for reporting on tough issues for sure. Just recently, however, they printed a story that involves one of their own. Sun reporter Tabitha Clay has filed a notice that she might sue, alleging harassment and retaliation by current and former Rio Arriba County Sheriff's Office employees. The ACLU of New Mexico filed the notice and says retaliation started after Ms. Clay broke a story about former Deputy Jeremy Barnes. You might remember this, tasing a special needs student at Espanola High School. And Ed, according to what we've read in the paper, Ms. Clay was just doing her job covering the cops and crime beat for the Sun. Do you see something other than heartburn over unfavorable coverage here? Is there a line in your view about how law enforcement should act towards reporters in these kind of situations?
If the allegations in the lawsuit play out, it's unacceptable and alarming that law enforcement would use their authority or the power vested in them by the community to retaliate against a reporter who's just doing their job. Law enforcement has an important job, an important function, and so does journalists and the media. And it's important that both sides respect each other. When either side steps out of line, then it becomes a problem. In this case here, has either side stepped out of line? Have both stepped out of line? Gotcha. There's an obligation on the part of the reporter that she is fair and objective in her reporting. And there's an obligation on the part of law enforcement that they understand that and they perform their job in a professional and fair manner as well. Right. There's a concern in the lawsuit or allegation laid out in the lawsuit that the law enforcement officer was out of his jurisdiction, parked within the vicinity of the reporter's house. Well, that's very concerning. And now that line that you asked about, Gene, now we're getting real close to crossing that line if we already haven't crossed it with that agency.
That's a tough one right there. I mean, we're not talking about politicians having a problem here. We're talking about folks with badges and guns. And they apparently don't realize how intimidating that is. You know, it's insane.
Well, we have a tradition in New Mexico, I'm not so sure it's a good one, where local sheriffs are independently elected and across the board, and they are therefore kind of political officers and elected officials as well as professional law enforcement personnel. So in this case, you know, it seems like a real personal reaction and a damaged reputation, hurt feelings by a reporter. And I didn't read the story, so I don't know how close it was to the facts. But the tendency on the part of elected officials is to not like any unfavorable coverage, even if it may be factual. I think we've seen that at a national scale here. There seems to have been a physical threat against this reporter. And this is not the first time that has happened to the Rio Grande Sun. They've had rocks thrown through their windows. They've had reporters threatened before because they are doing the job of a watchdog, a small town paper that is looking at these small town officials, the mayor, the sheriff, and the auditor. They've uncovered a lot of fraud. There are very few newspapers that are left in small communities that are doing this. And I think they deserve a lot of credit, but they are getting a lot of, they assume a lot of risk to do it.
Interesting, Janice, in the tort claim, as I'm reading it here as well, a number of events. The third one being on September 16th, during which sheriff's deputies denied Ms. Clay access to the Rio Arriba County Courthouse with her reporting tools, such as her laptop, camera, and so on. You see what I mean? There's little ways one can intimidate a reporter. It doesn't have to be necessarily crossing county lines like Ed's bringing up here. You know what I mean? Why the game's playing? I don't understand what these folks are trying to get at here.
I would say, and unfortunately, this gets back to the issue of trust. And so this behavior erodes trust completely. And I think it is unethical and it tramples on the First Amendment if you single out someone for this type of special treatment, which I think they clearly did at the courthouse. If the rule is reporters may take these tools in, whether you like what they report or not. And I just have to give a shout out to the Rio Grande Sun, Bob Trapp. I mean, this is a wonderful paper, but it is highly contentious in this community. And people do not like what they say, but they tend to say, that's how it is. You don't like how the cow ate the cabbage? give them corn. You do something else. But so when they did the story on waste and graft at the waste transfer station, this doesn't sound like a big deal, but I know that they got threats. So the fact that we have sheriff's deputies who are stalking someone, I don't know, was there a better word than that, stalking?
I think when you cross county lines, that's right.
I call that stalking.
Yep.
That this erodes the very trust that we've been talking about that we need to get. So good on the Rio Grande Sun. But.
Let me get Michael in here real quick. You know, interestingly, when you think about this, we have to put this on the table. There is something in the air across our country right now that we know where it's coming from about how we should be looking at reporters. We're all fake news. We're all, working against the government. We're all working against America. We're working against the president. This kind of thing is sort of filtering out there more and more and more. Is that part of the problem here, as you see it, Michael Bird?
Well, I think it is, but I think we have to also acknowledge that there is a legacy, there is a history in that area.
Sure.
And if I'm not mistaken, one of the former law enforcement officers is in prison as we speak,
right.
For activities that cross the line. And I think to Janice's point, when you have somebody who's armed and outside of his jurisdiction parked near your abode, that is a threat. I mean,
This sounds like another country.
Yeah, that's
Right.
clearly a threat,
Right.
and that's not acceptable.
That's right. Ms. Clay was also threatened with arrest.
That's what I was going to say.
Right? Just showing up to report an accident.
Yes, she showed up at the scene of an accident, pen in hand, to record what happened. And these kind of incidents are the stock and trade of a small weekly newspaper in a rural area. And, and she was threatened with arrest. I don't know what finally happened there, whether she had to talk him out of it or what, but it's clearly intimidation.
Right.
Intimidation, and that is what's going on nationally. I don't think we have too much of that kind of intimidation anywhere else in New Mexico. I may be wrong about that.
I don't think so.
And I got a other side of the paper question here. What redress does law enforcement have when they feel like they've been wronged by the press? Is there a proper way for law enforcement to address those kind of grievances?
Well, there's a number of different ways. I mean, they themselves can engage with the media and write an editorial, or ask for some sort of ask to work with the media at addressing the story to correct whatever they think is incorrect.
Right.
I mean, there are a lot of different ways in which to get their own story out. The bigger question to this is, was this retaliation against the reporter, or is this the pattern and practice of all reporters by this agency? So there are two issues there. Retaliation itself is serious, but is this a broader problem with all reporters? So
Interesting point there. Thank you all. Good stuff here. We're out of time on this one. Thanks you all for being here. We're back in a moment with Albuquerque Mayor Tim Keller. Don't move.